Good evening, all. Ira Epstein, and here we are with your Spider ETF stock market wrap-up for the night before. Yes, it is the 19th of September, Tuesday, 2023, and tomorrow we get the Fed. So we have the FOMC announcement at 1. We get dot plots with it. You've got to pour through that. Then at about 1:30, the Fed chair will hold the press conference. The questions will come out, and after that, you got to digest everything. This is probably, on a big event, the most widely anticipated do-nothing I've ever seen. I think it's like 99%. I didn't even look today, to be honest with you. The probabilities that the Fed's just going to go into a pause. They'll keep an option open that if they have to raise rates, they will. It'll be interesting to see how the Fed chair answers questions about inflation in terms of energy, in terms of the United Auto Workers, labor strikes that they're not even willing to take 20% plus increases. And I don't know how many of you have ever heard of the movie. I loved cowboy movies. Who didn't when we grew up, all right? Today the kids were Star Wars. But they used to have one called High Noon with Gary Cooper, and I must have seen it 30 times. I loved it. It was very, very good. And it reminds me of what the UAW did. At noon on Friday, you either give me, and I have in my hand, serious proposals. I have no idea what serious means, or else you're going to get gunned down. And that means more strikes coming. That's it. That is what they're saying. Now, I'm sure the big three automakers are going, what the hell's with this guy? You think we're not serious when we're talking 20% pay increases over X period of time? Not according to him. He wants 40%. He wants a 32-hour work week. That's what you're dealing with. There's the other issue you have to deal with. Nothing is happening in the House of Representatives to get any appropriations or bills passed. What are you going to do at the end of the month? All right, what will happen is what always happens. They'll go into a panic mode. They'll have a 3-day or 4-day marathon meeting. They'll hammer something out for 30 days, and then they'll go through the process again, and everybody will blame everybody. Because what it's about is airtime. It doesn't matter about you. It doesn't matter if you can't get a check, if the mail can't go, if this can't go, if that can't go. This is about them getting ready for the elections in November. If you don't believe that, boy, what a fool you are. All right, we've been looking at BND, and as you can see, these are the holdings it's got. But, talking tonight about any of these, it's difficult to try to want to take a position as you've got the FOMC, you've got the Bank of England, you got the Bank of Japan. That's in 3-day span, and 8 other central banks all this week. A lot going on. They won't set the tone. The market's tone is going to be set by how the market feels about what's going on in America. Already Canada's talking that because of energy, they may have to raise rates again, and they were so hoping they didn't have to. But as you can see, you've been breaking down ever so slightly here. When we take a look at the chart, the action is still bearish with lower highs, lower lows. You can see how the market fought a battle at the red line, which is the 18-day average of closes, failing from there. And now the big support's at 70.47, the lower Bollinger Band, because often markets will drive down to that number and try to bounce. You could have hit it here, and then you fell apart as you went on and you latched onto it. That's called the Gorilla Glue trade. And I say that because, Gorilla Glue was the strongest glue. I don't know if Flex Seal doesn't beat it now. I've never used Flex Seal as the glue, so I can't answer it. I've used Gorilla Glue, and it's darn strong. And as I look at the market, that could be the number it wants to look at. So pay attention to it. It's going to be important. Are you oversold? Absolutely. So it's not a market that's going to, at this point, convert from oversold and get embedded and say, let's go down. That's going to take days to get done, not 1 or 2. When I look at Rivian, well, rolled over. You lost the embedded reading and immediately went right to the nearest moving average and stopped there. For those of you that have bought my enhanced Bollinger Band course, come on. These are the things that I teach you over and over. More times than not, you're going to get a day or so ahead of it, such as you just lost the embedded reading. You haven't hit the 18-day average. The market strongly says that it should hit the 18-day average before you get up over the most recent high. In XLF, overbought market, no trend, higher high, lower low. The bias is up as you're staying over that 18-day average. In XLI, you keep slipping away. We have been fighting at the 100-day average in green in the lower Bollinger Band, but now you're starting to roll into an embedded posture. Both numbers under 20 today, both under 20 yesterday, not the day before. So tomorrow's the key day. If you're down in that, then you're embedded and a whole different type of trade starts showing up. In Disney, it's a little bit of everywhere, okay? Now they want to talk putting all this money into more parks and what they're going to do. Well, they make a fortune on their parks. But guys, if you have a family and you take your kids there, that is your event of the year. It is so expensive. I remember when I used to take my son there, and he's now 38, and I used to go, I can't believe how expensive this is. Well, it's worse. Higher highs, lower lows, you got right up there and you turned back down. Just not acting good at this point in time. RSP, this was the short cover day. What do I teach here? The first challenge of a Bollinger Band, the quote-unquote smart money, in my opinion, covers their shorts on the first hit. Yeah, you'll say, well, they did it here and look what they left. Not necessarily. They got back in with the embedded reading if they wanted, but you don't sell under the Bollinger Band. You cover against it, you put out, at least that's what I teach, and you put out sells above it, and if you can't do that type of trade, you don't do anything. I don't worry about what you're not in, I worry about what you're in. When we come to XHB, so this was an interesting day. The housing starts absolutely collapsed, the worst that we've seen in a long time. They were down 11.5%. These are big numbers. But the permits went up 6%. So I'm looking at it going, I know what they're doing. It's probably not single-family homes, but multiple dwellings that didn't get built. I think if you dive into the number, you'll see that, but they're all considered a single-family home. And the permits, well, you pull them now. Why? Because if interest rates break, if things start turning down, you want to be ready to go. You want that in the bank. It's just like money. Do you have to build right away? You don't. If you don't in many areas. Others you do. You got a time frame normally on a permit to get that done. It's cheap because when everybody's ready to go, you won't be able to get your permits right away. It's typically how it works. They can get delayed 6 months, a year. I've seen that. It happened to my sister-in-law in Florida, so I talked firsthand on this. Lower highs, lower lows, right down through here at 90.55. That's the first support zone, but the correction has begun. I lost some money this week in terms of trade recommendations if clients took them on the energies. XLE was one of them. It lost the embedded reading. It was cents. I'm the happiest guy in the world. Not dollars, cents. That's when you're wrong, you want to be wrong small. When you're right, you want to be right big. GLD, there is no trend. You're just sort of hanging in here doing nothing. When you take a look at SLV, higher lows, higher highs, it is still saying it should because it lost the embedded reading. Before it gets down under that low, it should rally into this resistance, and that's where I think the pros will take some money off the table. Copper's turning down again. I can't say I'm surprised. If you do any reading at all about Country Gardens, Evergrande, and so on, you know they've all been able to get the creditors to give them more time to pay. The problem is they're not selling enough property. So the debt keeps mounting. They're not getting people to buy things. That's what they need to get done. Time is on their side because they're getting a couple of years to get this done, sometimes 3 years. And that's what you have to hope for. But does that mean that they're going to need a lot of copper right now? No, because they're not going to break new ground and do things. They're going to finish what they have and deliver them. But I doubt they're putting up brand new buildings. I think they're finishing buildings that are already up to get them sold and deliver units. That would make sense. If it's like America, that's what goes on. Now, TLT, BND, come on. Why even guess what the market's going to do after it? It doesn't make sense. Same in the dollar. As bullish as it is right here, I don't know how the market's going to react or what the market's going to react to when Fed Chair Powell talks. I don't know what he's going to say. If he doesn't cut rates, which he's not expected to, somebody in the press should say, what do you define as strong data? Because the data, PPI, CPI, everything that's been coming out is strong. So how do you interpret strong? So now I have if he doesn't go with that quarter point, a whole different attitude. What does that mean? And he's going to have to explain the position. All he can say is they're looking down the road over the horizon. Okay. And what do you tell me about energy prices then over the horizon? Tell me, what are you going to do with that? Because that's taking people's money. FXE, still in a bearish phase here. We know what their bank wants to do. We're already hearing members, they're very vocal. They don't want any more hikes. Germany's in enough trouble. They can ill afford further hikes by the bank. So that doesn't bode well. Maybe. Depends what our Fed says tomorrow. 40% of the dollar is made up of the euro. So they tie them together. So yeah, I went tonight quick, but I want to. Tomorrow's the one that I'll talk about. Gee, this is what we should be looking at. This is what the market's going to do. We're going to be covering tomorrow everything. Isn't that a big statement? But everything. Interest rates, the currency markets, the reaction in, be it the grains, BND, TLT. We'll be covering all this because we're commodity guys and these things are based on this. And tomorrow's a huge event. Monetary policy from the strongest country in the world economically right now is us. What we do affects everything. So if you're interested and you want to see how we're writing about it, what we're seeing, what's going on, we'll be writing on it throughout the day. I want to give it to you. It's free. You can give it a trial. And I recommend you also take our price counts. I think you'll find them fascinating. Today we did one on the real. And boy, you want to take a look at that. All right, in any case, go to IraEpstein.com under free offers. Move your cursor up here, free offers. You'll see the icon, and away you go. I'll see you first thing in the morning, but it's tomorrow night that everything's going to be about. Take care.